Oh,
of grain.
wow.
To
It
workout.
don't cost much right now, right?
It's a workout.
Are we live? Good morning. Today is Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. We are here for the Franklin County Commissioners' weekly meeting. It is 9 o'clock. I will call the meeting to order and ask that you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adoption of current agenda. Any additions or corrections?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Approval of minutes. Any additions or corrections?
Nothing.
Hearing none.
I don't believe we have them
Only
today.
any minutes.
All right.
There's no minutes to,
Okay. Approval of warrant registers, weekly and payroll rosters.
so Mr. Chairman, I move to approve fund expenditures in the amount of $815,047.45 and note that it has been signed by 2 members of the auditor's office.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion
Mr.
passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move for fund salary clearing payroll, emergency management payroll in the amount of $1,257,999.61. And again, it has been signed by 2 members of the auditor's office.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Public comment. Is there anyone in the room for public comment? If so, please come forward, state your name. You have 3 minutes. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Nicole Carby. I'm the one who has sent you guys some emails over the last few years. Wanted to be sure and put a face with the name outside of the political meetings. As I only have 3 minutes, I'm going to just kind of give a high-level overview today up until I get out what I need to get out. I was at the Benton County Commissioners meeting yesterday and would encourage you to look at that YouTube video that is posted on their website. It's my understanding you guys meet together quarterly. And the reason why I'm including you is because, and for those who don't know who are listening in, you guys are the ones who appoint the commissioners between both Benton and Franklin County when a judge vacates its seat. They're called commissioners and not judges, yet they are bound by the same qualifications and needs that need to tend to as a judge. So you guys are the ones responsible for putting those people in place. Again, I'm here. I'm a whistleblower regarding fraudulent elections, and November 5th, we have yet another one coming up, and they will continue to be fraudulent until the story is told. I would encourage anyone to request the email that I sent this last week regarding via public records request. So to help put those pieces together, and just to reiterate, I first came forward 13 years ago and got on record with former Governor Gregoire regarding fraudulent elections, starting in Benton County, which is way worse off than Franklin County, with Andy Miller, Heather Kensley, and former Senator Sharon Brown. Also at that time, it's important to note that Lisa Beaton was working with Heather Kensley, and he is your guys' auditor, and that is her husband, and he certifies the elections around here. As I only have 3 minutes, I just want to close with anyone listening, and I know there are quite a few. Please follow along on Facebook under Nikki Carby. I'm blue checkmark verified. I'm also cross-posting across X and Truth Social to make sure there's complete transparency regarding these meetings and others and our elections so we can bring back fair and free and true elections. And in closing, I just want to reiterate, I'm a business owner and a mother, business owner first. When I apply for the license, it requires certain endorsements in order to conduct business. Not sure when or where you guys think that you can conduct business within the state without those proper endorsements. At this time, I've been going through the vetting committee with both Benton and Franklin County Republicans, as that, in my opinion, is God's party, and that's what this is about. So hopefully you guys will have the expectation of endorsements and get it properly endorsed, and that means that you guys will have to do your jobs. Thank you again. My name is Nicole Carby, NICOLE-CARB as in boy, Y. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room for public comment?
Hello, Commissioners. LaWanda Hatch, Precinct 100. I have consistently forewarned the voters of Franklin County, and Mr. Baumann continues to prove me right. I talked about his lack of knowledge of the Constitution, and this last week he held a secret court. Secret courts are something the Nazis did, just to understand. A secret court I was not made any knowledge of. I still don't know. They will not give me the information. I am an elected PCO in the Republican Party, of which Mr. Baumann is the chair. And in the secret court, only they were able to speak. And they, like any prosecution, you can put forth your case, but that's why you have a defense as well. Mr. Baumann doesn't want to hear from me. He's told several people that they need to get me to stop talking. I have a First Amendment right, and I also have the right to due process, even though Mr. Baumann doesn't believe in that, except for himself. Also, the funny thing is they voted to censure, except according to our bylaws, you can't censure an elected PCO. This shows his ignorance as well. I'm not even sure if Mr. Baumann knows how to read at this point. I do know that his voter pamphlet submission was written 99% by AI. There's programs that prove that, Mr. Baumann. So this is very dangerous to our county. He has put the party in a litigious situation, and he will do the same with this county. This man is not fit for public office. It is not that I'm being mean to him. Really, as far as what matters, I mean, the dirt on the floor matters more to me. But I worry about my county, and we cannot put people in office that do not know what they're doing, who can't even read the bylaws of our own party, and has to be told what to think instead of reading and studying and using discernment himself. This is why he works for the bureaucracy instead of the people, because the bureaucracy tells him what to think. This is why he continues to try to raise taxes. This is why he thinks criticizing him is a crime, that he is above that. No one is allowed to criticize him. He is not fit for public office. I love this county, and that is why I stand here. No one will silence me, and the more he tries, the louder I will get, Mr. Baumann, because I have a constitutional right to go and speak to my government. That is part of the Constitution. You should learn how to read and learn how to read it. Vote for Caleb Atkins for commissioner. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room for public comment?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Michelle Andrews. I'm still concerned and would like to see a workshop and a public meeting request for the review of the Hapo Center. It's in the contract. How are they doing? Are they even close to breaking even? I don't think so. And the taxpayers need to know as we go into this budgetary complex. We need to sell it or something different. If in a year they have not been able to do something with this center. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room for public comment? Moving on to the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of consent agenda items 1 through 3 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the consent agenda items 1 through 3, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Moving on to regular business. Ordinance 052024. Presented by Derek Bratton, but I don't see Derek today, so good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm not Derek Bratton. My name is Nicole Stickney. I'm with AHBL. I'm the contract planner for Franklin County, so I'm happy to be with you this morning. Thank you, commissioners, for considering this morning. I wanted to actually request that you not pass this ordinance this morning, and I'll explain why. Upon my review, they had inadvertently taken an old version of an ordinance and tried to update it, and in doing so, missed the fact that there were several things that had been previously repealed when the building code adoption 3 years ago occurred. And the reason why I was very knowledgeable about that is because I helped with that process 3 years ago. So I have already worked with a building official, Mike Tritle, to make those corrections and bring that to light. And we have prepared new ordinances for your consideration. They've not been forwarded to the board yet. We're working on getting that over here, and so I would ask that you delay action until next week when you can see the fresh ordinances that remedy those inadvertent mistakes that were made.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to table this ordinance 05-2024 until a later date.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Nicole.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Resolution 2024-0250, appointment of interim public records officer, presented by Margot Wilder, Human Resources Director, Eric Johnson, County Administrator.
I think it'll largely be me. Feel free to come up and join, and Mackenzie, feel free as well, since you two have been been speaking about this issue to the board now for a while. This is a really critical position for not just the board, but for Franklin County. One of our biggest exposures to risk is, in fact, failure to comply with the Public Records Act. It's unfortunately one of the reasons your risk pool doesn't insure you for those elements. So it really is an important position. You've been briefed about how the current system works and how we are proposing to consolidate kind of the oversight of that and create a position and to be able to utilize existing resources for that. We will be utilizing the positions for the Government Relations Coordinator at this point to fulfill that. That's a position that was vacated here at the end of September. And so we'll be transitioning those fund sources over to pay for this one on an interim basis, and you'll have a more robust discussion then moving forward into the 2025 budget as well. So we have in front of you materials to be able to authorize the appointment of an interim position with the full understanding that we will be proceeding with that permanent request for the 2025 budget as well. So I answer any questions that you have. We do have a temporary interim person that has been working in the prosecutor's office that will fulfill that obligation on the interim as we go out to recruit for a permanent position starting in 2025. So happy to answer any questions that you have. And I don't know whether either of the two of you have anything to add, but okay.
Excuse me. The only thing that I would add is Eric referenced the job description last week, which I did send to all of you via email. I also have a hard copy if you would like to take a look at that, but that would be for the budgetary process and for the permanent position for 2025.
I haven't had a chance to meet this person. Is there any chance that we could meet the person before we hire him as an interim?
Gray is currently in district court. They are a Rule 9 in our office as of right now. They're handling district court. They have a full docket this morning.
Okay.
So I'm not sure when they're going to be done, but.
Before I agree to this, I'd like to meet and talk to the person because I've had several people from the courthouse come with concerns, and we don't need any more problems within our county commissioner office. And I'd like to, honestly, I'd like to meet him in the public forum in a meeting. So just trying to protect the county commissioner office is all.
Mr. Chairman.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Bauman.
This is an interim position. Could you describe how that would look and what that would look like in going and filling this position in a permanent capacity?
Yeah, we would do an open recruitment like we do for any position. Yep.
And then at what point that the position, if it was not this individual, if this individual did not apply for the permanent position and it was filled by some other individual, how would that affect this individual?
Say that again, I'm not sure I
So
fully
if
tracked.
this position is filled on an interim basis
Yes.
and then it was permanently filled by a different person, what would this individual, where would they go?
So if they were not selected for the permanent position,
Correct.
they would, their appointment would lapse.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
What is the time frame? I mean, how long do you think it will take to find a person for this position once the,
Once it becomes an official position?
yeah.
Well, I think there's two steps here, if I could interject myself. The first step is an interim. You are down to less than a third of the FTE supporting the Board of County Commissioners. You have myself at one point, basically at 0.5, basically. You have Teresa at 1. We have filled some gaps. Shirley has come over. So, we are sending notes to those folks that need public records, extension notices that we're fulfilling a number of these records in installments, and we're telling them we are unable to do that right now. We're exposing the county to liability. I'm not going to lie to you. We need to take action on an interim basis, recognizing that we will do a permanent appointment through the normal process. So I understand that there might be issues that some folks have with whoever we hire on an interim basis, but the question really is, from my perspective, is managing the liability for the county at this point. So I understand you might have concerns. I'll take the responsibility for, as the interim county administrator, for the hiring of staff and doing the reshuffling that I have done so far to fill really the fact that you are 3.5 FTEs down to do the work. Yeah. So that's my only concern about delaying a decision at this point. So, great.
Commissioner Didier, this is great. Blair.
Hi, Gray. Very nice to meet you. Have you filed any complaints against the prosecuting attorney's office?
No, I have not.
You have not? Against any other employees in the county commissioner office? Okay. Because this is what I've heard. I've heard that there's been some problems within the office, and I don't want any more problems for our new administrator interim because he is doing his best to keep our office in check and in good balance, and we don't need any more problems.
Yeah, I would just caution, if we're going to talk about the qualifications of an employee for public,
Okay.
is that we would go into executive session.
Okay. Well, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should move into executive session for a brief moment.
Or we can table this and finish the rest of our business and come back to executive session for that.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Okay.
We'll table this and come back at the end of the meeting for executive session.
Great.
Moving on to Commissioner Administrator updates. Eric Johnson?
Yeah, a couple things. I did send you a letter that is a response to the Office of Public, the state public defense standards.
Mm-hmm.
So I really believe that Franklin County should provide written comment to those proposed standards. So I did provide a draft. We have till roughly the end of the month to submit those to you. So I'm waiting for other information in regards to what the Washington State Association of Counties, with the Washington Association of Prosecuting Attorneys, some of their comments, so that we can, for the most part, make sure they're harmonized. But the context really is twofold. Number one, we talk about really the fiscal challenge that we have just affording the existing standards, paying for the existing standards. And then secondarily, the next piece largely would focus in on the fact that fixing one portion of this fragile criminal and civil justice system could be peril to the entire system. I'll give you an example that I really hadn't considered much of, but as we have more public defenders, we will likely need more interpreters as well. It is hard pressed to find court interpreters now that meet the standard of a court interpreter. So the system is what we're trying to say needs to be wholly looked at, and you can't simply extract one facet of it. The pressure it will put on prosecutors' office, the pressure it will put into more potential trials, into then affecting the judicial branch. This really is a system, and really asking the Supreme Court to look at it as a system and the impact that this would have on the fragility of the whole system. So that's the basic tenets of the letter. Appreciate if you can look at it, provide any edits, and then we will get it back to you for signature before the end of October.
So if I may comment on, I've read it, it's excellent. I encourage you to both read it. And I'm proposing that we send it to every county in the state, especially the ones on the east side, because we got to unify in order to make this change. They are putting an undue burden on the counties for this, and we need it to stop. So I encourage you both to read it, and I propose that we send it to every county. I know some counties have already sent in their letters. Benton County, Walla Walla, one commissioner.
Yakima did one as well.
Yeah, so please, let's get this thing moving.
Mr. Chairman.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Bauman.
I agree. Having worked diligently to dig into and try to understand this as well as I'm able, having read the letter, I think it's excellent written, and hadn't thought about that, but I think Commissioner Didier's idea of seeing if it's a chance to making it a regional letter, I think that's a great idea, but certainly we need to send it from us.
Other items, reference the discussion about HAPO. So I've been spending time with HAPO on a number of issues associated with the facility, with the contract, looking at we set up the meeting and started the discussion yesterday about the annual goals for and benchmarks and key performance indicators for that going forward into this next year. So we are on that path to be able to have those. There's no requirement for those to be in front of the board. You've delegated that responsibility, but we'll probably do a briefing once we have that so you can kind of see the context to that, and the public can see the context to those as well. Just continuing to look at kind of the Benton County and joint agreements and the things that we work collaboratively on, and making sure that our interests are certainly being maintained, and identifying when we can look at potential efficiencies within those agreements as well. So I've been meeting with the county administrator and deputy county administrator at least every other week when I'm here as well to look at those. Other things that I would just call to your attention to a little bit that we are spending time on, and that is your 2025 budget. Commissioner Bauman and I had an opportunity to meet with the assessor to understand the fiscal impacts from the tax increment finance districts that the Port of Centralia, it's my old neck of the woods, the Port of Pasco, and maybe the Port of Centralia did it too, I'm sorry, the Port of Pasco and the city have put in place. It will reduce our property tax revenue by as much as $320,000 or so. So it's a significant impact to our potential revenue growth from new construction. They will take the dollars that they get and put that into public infrastructure to support that area, a really important project, but it will have a fiscal impact into our current expense budget going forward. So, that didn't do us any good in shrinking that, shrinking our structural deficit. It in fact expanded our structural deficit by about that much. So the budget is going to be a challenging time. We're going to spend next week hearing from departments, and we really will be talking to you about the bigger perspective about closing that gap in significant chunks what that will take. So, because you won't, you can't just cut the $200,000 in travel for the county. That just doesn't get you there. In fact, you may need to really think about how do we expand some areas and contract in some areas. So there may be reasons that you are more strategic about, yes, we know we're expanding in some areas, but we are contracting in others because you're trying to be more strategic and surgical in the choices that you're making.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes. the
for
chair
clarity for the public, we are now, instead of a 1.3 deficit, we're at a 1.8 deficit?
About 1.7-ish, yeah, about 1.7.
Okay,
Yep.
just so everybody understands, our mountain just got bigger.
Yeah, it was not we were hoping it was going to go the other way, but yeah, it did add to it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bauman.
Can I ask a question on that
Sure,
last
sure.
topic? About what percentage of retraction would we have to go through countywide to balance our budget as it exists today with the information?
Yeah, I think you will, so just for folks, make sure I don't misspeak, it's about 3.5%.
About 3.5%.
Is what it is. You would, I do have that number. It is approximately 50.5 million in expenditures that are proposed and 48.8 million in revenue. So it's about 1.7 million. And I would remind folks that is before we have considered any of the new requests, new programs, new services, new FTEs. We have very few new FTE requests. So the departments and the offices were very disciplined from that perspective. It's, without step increases, without COLAs. So, we've got our work cut out for us.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Last week, I had the elected and department head meeting here in this room following last week's County Commission meeting. Ben Franklin Transit Board meeting. The meeting has gone back to Ben Franklin Transit headquarters in the original boardroom. It was my first time getting to do that, and the setup there is very nice for having a meeting, for access to the public. Meeting with our administrator and a business about potentially locating in Franklin County. It's exciting when businesses consider Franklin County for coming and doing business and supporting our community. So looking forward to hopefully that opportunity bearing fruit sometime. Meeting with the Port of Pasco, the City of Pasco, Franklin County PUD, and the City of Connell about mutual concerns and areas of need and ways that we can mutually support or benefit each other. We talked about a lot of different things there. Franklin PUD did a presentation on the electricity or power needs that Franklin County has today, and some of the projected needs that we have, and some of the obstacles towards that. They described that on a weekly basis they get calls from businesses asking about our capacity, and specifically Franklin County PUD's capacity to serve businesses. So that was a really interesting information. Where we have power today, we really need to do some diligent and consistent work over the next short amount of time to be able to attract businesses that have need for power. There was a recent study done that the power needs in the United States in the next, I believe they said 10 years is going to go up 40%. And so when we have this discussion about removing the Snake River dams, the lower Snake River dams, it is fascinating that conversation is had when we have such a need for power, and that need is exponentially growing. Was on the meeting with the state auditor on the Franklin County's accountability entrance audit. Also had Pasco Chamber of Commerce luncheon. Had a meeting that was hosted by the Port of Pasco. It was in Connell, and it was with Connell, Port of Pasco, Tridex, City of Connell, Avista Corp., Senator Schessler, Senator Dozier, and several of the local community leaders about the closing of the Lamb Weston potato processing plant there, and some of the concerns and the needs that the city there will have. More than 40% of the water that the city of Connell supplies currently is supplied to that Lamb Weston plant. That'll be a big hit to their budget. About 13% of their tax base is that Lamb Weston plant, and pretty serious for our community, for the city of Connell, and really appreciated everybody that was there and some of the ideas that were put forth in trying to figure out how to work with the city of Connell and the affected communities. The plan is to have another meeting, not sure how long, but potentially add a couple of different stakeholders to that, maybe the school district and the Chamber of Commerce there in Connell, and really was happy to see that the community and the leaders in the community come together and say, how can we help our neighbor in need. So happy to help there where we can. On Tuesday night, last night, I went to the City of Pasco Council meeting where they had some budget workshop meetings. It was interesting, this budget shortfall that jurisdictions find themselves in right now is very real. And last night, the fire department, the Parks and Recs department, and the police department presented their budgets to the city council last night, and as Eric is sharing with us, this is a very serious issue in front of us that we have some serious work to do with a $1.7 million deficit that we are in right now. You know, approximately 3.5% is something that we need to take very seriously. And then I wanted to give primarily for the public an update on the emergency communications, just kind of educate everybody kind of where we're at. This was put together by our IS department. So I'm just going to read a portion of this. So system health report, the radio, the system has had one major failure in the third quarter. It has been resolved that the components were able to be repaired. There has been several reports of interference, especially in the Basin City Radar Hill area. Upon investigation, it appears to have been a mobile radio passing through the area. The issue has been clear over 30 days. The microwave system, the microwave has been operating within the expected parameters. The different projects, the microwave upgrade, the final project design review has been completed. DC power for the 5 Franklin County sites has been ordered this quarter with an expected delivery time around the 1st of January 2025. Work to request the co-location changes is now being processed. There are no anticipated delays in this project. And I would say a side note to this, they've been excited with the contractor and believe that they are ahead of the schedule that we were originally anticipated. The project total cost is $4,522,000. Franklin County's proportionate share of that is $904,400. That anticipated expenditure will need to be paid or will be due the third quarter of 2025. And Pasco, the city of Pasco will also have a $904,400 for their third quarter expenditure due in 2025. The radio system upgrade. The radio upgrade or transition to the 800 megahertz system is moving forward. As of this writing, the expected costs are as follows. Number one, the infrastructure total is believed to be $18 million. Possible reduction of up to $6 million depending on the need for infill sites. So when they go out and they project the need, they go out and do coverage analysis, and there's 3 sites that are being analyzed as potentially being needed or not being needed. They're still doing analysis on that. Those 3 sites are the Richland Federal Building, the Kennewick Police Department, and the Trios Administration Building. This price does not include the removal of the old VHF system, and that is estimated at between $1 and $1.5 million. The subscriber radios, right now that is believed to be $13,660,000. Total subscriber radio counts are accurate. However, actual need for replacement is still being evaluated, And on that, there is some 800 megahertz system radios that are in use today, and so that's still being evaluated at what their life cycle and change-out times might need to be. User or agencies to be included in the project are still being evaluated. This price does not include the mobile radio installation, estimated to be at $2.1 million, depending on vendor and any radio count reductions or additions. And as a side note to that, at the last Benton County Emergency Services Executive Board meeting, I asked the question of, when this process takes place, how long does it take, or what does the process look like when we're talking about, in the neighborhood of 2,000 radios, to install them as needed in the vehicles and the equipment and so forth as they're needed. And so that's something that is being evaluated. That's one of the reasons why that this mobile radio installation of over $2 million is still being evaluated on how do you do that, that number of radios. This price does not include any programming charges. This is being negotiated, and there is no estimate at this time. Subscriber fees, this is an area where that with the VHF system, there is no per radio subscriber fee charge today. And as that system sees its sunset, it will go into a subscriber base, similar to what your cell phone bill would be, where that you have a per month charge per cell phone. And so the subscriber fees, ongoing cost estimated to be at $3.5 million a year for Pasco and Franklin County together. This estimate is based on the current per radio charge paid by the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, the number of radios to be added to the system, and the base assessment from Benton County Emergency Services. The current subscriber fee is $44.64 per radio per month. The current radio count for the project as a whole is 2,854 radios. The current Franklin County and Pasco assessment is $1,933,492. The total project estimate is approximately $35 million. $14 million of that is between Franklin County and Pasco, the city of Pasco. So of that, it would be split evenly between Pasco and Franklin County, for Franklin County's proportionate share to be $7 million. So the next project is the Benton County Emergency Services Standalone Agency. So this has been discussed for quite a number of years. So the migration of the Benton County Emergency Services to a standalone agency is underway. There are no estimates for the cost of this currently. The Benton County Emergency Services Board has asked the Executive Director to proceed with a plan and a roadmap to make this happen. At this time, all agencies are in agreement. This is the best path forward. The roadmap from Spokane did this similar type of deal where they had their CCOM, not called CCOM there, but they had theirs where they took it to a standalone agency. So at this time, the roadmap that was used in Spokane is being used as a template. The consultant who helped in Spokane has been hired to assist in this process. The project has been estimated to be completed by the first quarter of 2026, and the basics are as follows. Number one, Benton County Emergency Services. That name would be changed when it becomes a standalone agency. The name is to be determined later, and that process is to become an independent agency. The Benton County Emergency Services Board would be made up of the current 5 owner agencies. So they call it the Big Five whenever they're talking about this. And so those Big Five, as they speak of it, is Pasco, Kennewick, and Richland, Franklin, and Benton counties is the 5 owner agencies that they speak of. The Benton County Emergency Services will be responsible for all infrastructure. It will be responsible for all subscriber radios. It will be responsible for all dispatching. And Benton County Emergency Services will be responsible for the records management system, currently called BIPIN. So there's a couple of different things that are being worked on currently. It's a very complex system as it exists today. It's one of the reasons why that all of the agencies that are associated with this believe it is going to be better, and it is going to work much simpler when it becomes a standalone agency. The BIPIN is currently a standalone component. Benton County Emergency Services is a component, and it needs to become standalone because there's I mean, it's called Benton County Emergency Services, of which Franklin County and the city of Pasco is a large part of it. So as it becomes a standalone agency, that will those things will become one, where that it's managed under one process. And there is a possibility that emergency management from both Benton and Franklin County will fall under that new standalone organization. And then there's some other steps to the process, talking about a backup dispatch center, emergency operations center. Kind of talks about the next steps. Franklin County Emergency Communications continues to be actively involved in all aspects of the above project. These projects are highly dependent on one another. The most important next step is to modify the existing interlocal agreement to be able to have a funding agreement for the radio upgrade project. Once this is complete, the Benton County Emergency Services Board will authorize the execution of the Motorola contract to expand the 800 megahertz system. While this is happening, the purchasing and staging of the new microwave system will continue to move forward, as well as the design of the Benton County Emergency Services agency independence. The Franklin County Commissioners have also authorized the additions of a communications tax into the November ballot. There will need to be work done to determine how these funds will be managed. In conclusion, the Franklin County Emergency Communications is working to ensure the continued operation of the existing VHF system. As it will no longer be needed. The project listed above are all intertwined and highly dependent on one another, and are continuously being adjusted to better serve the citizens and public safety community. And all data on this is current as best known on this date. So really wanted to give that update. Thank you to our IS department for putting this together so diligently. There's a lot of information there. Really appreciate that. And if there's any member of the public that would like to have this information, it can be readily made available, and really felt that this was very helpful for them to put together. So thank you so much to our IS department for putting that information. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my lengthy report.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Didier.
Yeah, so last week, actually 2 weeks ago, I got a call from Tim Waters, very concerned about the employees up there at Lamb Weston, as the whole community is in our prayers. But after talking with him, Ben Franklin Workforce Development went right to work, and they're going to have a job fair up there, I believe, in Connell. So they're already at task working, trying to help people find other employment, which is very, very appreciative, because I serve on that board, and that's Ben Franklin Workforce Development is a very good group led by a great chairman. From our Public Works Department, Craig gave us a parking lot assessment, and then Marshall Myers sent it out. And I think we need to move ahead and plan right now and possibly get the materials purchased for that parking lot. I think we need to lock those up now with the uncertainty of what's facing us here in the next month or two. This is a .09 fund expenditure. I think we could lock up those funds and have things in order to get that parking lot done, which is for the chip seal, which Marshall Myers and Wes Harris all agree they think that's the best way to go. $367,983, and that would get our parking lot up to snuff over there at the Happel Center. Also, the meeting is next week on Tuesday for the Happel Center. I plan on being there. I'd encourage the other commissioners to be there also. As long as we don't talk and just listen, we can be present. Another thing we need to do, the adult league contract is pretty much done. But the CAHA contract for the youth hockey, we need to get that finished. We need to get that locked up. They're talking to Marshall and Wes. They both say that ice arena alone is going to start making some very good money for the county. And then we need to get the bid out for the arena side for the HVAC. We need to get that bid proposal out so we can get some contractors putting the bids back in. We haven't done that yet, and that's something that's lacking that needs to be done. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. So the job fair that Commissioner Didier was speaking about is in Connell. It's Friday, October 25th from 10 to 2. So if there's any employers out there that are looking for additional help, I would strongly encourage you to attend that or get in touch with my office and we can set you up. Also, I spoke with Israel. I can't remember his last, I don't have his last name in front of me, Delgado. Anyways, he is also working with the Washington State Unemployment and Rapid Response. They're going to have 2 more job fair opportunities. One is going to be next Tuesday at CBC, and the other one is at a different date up in Connell. So this last week had the Pasco Chamber of Commerce luncheon and also the Budget Review Committee meeting. Coming out of that meeting, our sales tax revenue is actually up. Our licensing is down, which tells me that people aren't buying as many cars this last year. But as Administrator Johnson said, our revenue is going to be affected by the TIF, which is a tax increment financing. But also, I just want to point out that a lot of people are asking, you know, what are we doing with the property taxes? Well, just as a reminder, of the property taxes that are collected, which is basically our main source of revenue, the county only receives 9.5% of your property taxes. The rest go to other entities such as the school district, fire district. So just want to make a reminder that you know, our county is not flush with funds, and that's one of the reasons why. So that concludes my report for this week. Is there any further? Yes. Commissioner Baumann.
So I agree with Commissioner Didier that with the information that we received from our county engineer, as well as the recommendation that we should move forward with that, and would ask that it be placed on our agenda for action, and believe that that we should move on this as quickly as we can. And I believe it is potentially even possible to have it completed this year, and that would empower or make the master plan that is underway be even more prepared for success.
All right, thank you. Is there any further administrative office business? Hearing none. Moving on to public comment. Is there anyone in the room for public comment? If so, please come forward, state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Commissioners, as the preacher says on a Sunday morning, don't tarry long. This county needs a public records officer. It's the law, be it interim or full-time. It's not something you can bypass and cut, and it's not up to personal preferences or those type of issues. You spoke a lot about an ILA. That ILA is due to be signed and to the board next week. And that ILA has been a work in progress for I don't know how long. It's been quite a while, and it needs to be signed. We are one of the big 5. You became one of the big 5 when we wrote a $1.5 million check to the concept in 2017. Which was supposed to do several things. It was supposed to stand up a standalone dispatch center, CCOM, whatever you want to call it. The big 5 were supposed to be the controlling people on that board. And we were supposed to have been converted to 800 by now, and VHF both. Fire was VHF, police was 800. In the interim, we're the ones that used radios, it's 800 megahertz and VHF. This county and this board did not pay for it. We wrote nearly $1 million grant through the Coast Guard and Homeland Defense to put the radios in place here in the county. And so that's where we're at right now, while we're waiting and arguing, if you will, or discussing all these issues. So please get a public records officer in place. That's going to cost me money, personally. And again, get the ILA signed so we can progress forward with our EMS operations.
Thank you, Sheriff. Fitly spoken. Michelle Andrews. I think one of the things you need to be thinking about is that we can still build gas turbines till 2045. They put out an incredible amount of megawatts. That's a good thing to have here, and it's a good thing to have out in Connell. I have talked to the potential people taking office like Michael Baumgartner, Perry Dozier, some of those folks, because if Lamb Weston is not going to come back, they're just going to use that place as a storage shed. It would be nice to have a source of energy that they can profit from and expand from and be an economical boon. And with regard to WorkSource, on the job training, you can pay up to 50% of somebody's wage to transition from one field to another. There are an immense amount, and there are an immense amount of funds for somebody that needs to have training that comes out of that, and even CDL training is paid for. The people of Connell have built a community that has started to expand, and they directly affect our bottom line in Franklin County. They're part of the family. With learning that City of Pasco, it is very hard as a taxpayer to learn that we're in debt when we're one of the fastest growing counties and cities in this state, maybe even the country at times. And to find out that we're potentially $11 million in debt in the City of Pasco is very distressing. I would ask that that those that bid on jobs with the city not go take land and then bid back for a higher price to do stuff, okay? That just isn't going to help the taxpayer. If there are grants to improve a park or like a peanut park or something like that, bid it. My husband did a lot of bidding with Power City Electric, 52 years. So he knows how it works. I know how it works, and it just has to stop. The taxpayers foot the bill. And I would ask you to take one more look at the bill that I sent to Benke and Barnard and Connors about retaining 1/10 or 0.2% here. We're taxing as the state tells us to, but if we retain it, then the treasurer can invest it and we can earn some serious interest to refund our reserves that are gone. What were we down to, 300,000 maybe? Make some changes. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room for public comment? Hearing none, we'll go into executive session. Under RCW Code 42.30.110, subsection 1, subsection F. G, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the reason why I know Didier had alluded to some sort of complaint, but Gray works in my office. I've never heard any complaints about her performance, but I think the more important reason would be if we are going to evaluate a complaint against an employee, I think they have a right to be here, and also they could make it public under that subsection, but I think we should just proceed under G and not veer into F.
All right, so we will go into executive session 42.30.110, subsection 1 and subsection G for approximately 10 minutes.
I think it'll be the board, myself.
Gray can join us if we need to.
All right. So the time is We've come out of executive session with no decisions being made. At this point, we will return to
Regular business.
regular business and resolution 2024-0250, appointment of interim public records officer presented by Margot Wilder, Human Resources Director, Eric Johnson, County Administrator.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would move for approval of Resolution 2024-0250 as presented.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes unanimously. With any further business for the good of the county?
Yes, we do have need for another executive session under potential litigation, so that'd be 4230-110-1I. We would need the board present, county administrator, as well as the legal team.
How long?
We'll go 20 minutes. Well, thanks. No, I'm kidding. 20 minutes. Yeah, probably.
20 minutes?
Yeah, let's do 20.
So at this point, we'll go into executive session. The time is 10:09 for 20 minutes. We'll reconvene at 10:29. Thank you. same RCW code for approximately an additional 10 minutes. Thank you. So we've come out of executive session with no decisions being made. Is there any further business for the good of the county? Closed session after the meeting?
After you can adjourn, we'll do a closed session.
All right. And then also, I need to apologize on Israel Delamora's name. I grossly mispronounced it. So he's been working hard with the placement of people that were displaced from the Lamb Weston unit in Connell. And so he's been working hard on that, and if anybody, employers are looking for employment, please reach out to me, and I can give you Israel's number and find jobs for all these hardworking people. So with no other further business for the good of the county, this meeting is adjourned. Okay, all right.
We do need a closed session.
Yeah,
We do.
thank you, Michelle.
3 minutes?
No more than 15.
3. 3, come on. 7. Deal.
So at this point, we'll go into closed record hearing.
Closed session.
Closed session. So the time is 10:45. We are now going to go into a closed record hearing. Closed session hearing. Thank you. For approximately 15 minutes. Thank you.
And I don't think we have to come back to adjourn.
Right,
at
we
that
don't have to,
point.
yeah, we don't have to announce it really. Yeah,
Yep.
it's just,
Yep, so you're good,
it's outside the
Shirley.
EMA.
What you can now do for labor.
Already told them all that. So just to give you an update from last week's mediation, so Tony and I met with the regarding a bunch of the sheriff's bargaining units. The two that we mainly discussed were deputy staff. Deputies is here for a wage reopener. We told them 3%. Got nowhere in that mediation, so they left. Command staff is a new bargaining unit, so we are bargaining the full CBA. My understanding, Tony already reached out to the sheriff to discuss some managerial rights earlier this year. That's basically what we discussed in mediation. Probably be reaching out to both. Tony's our outside counsel, Tony Mackey. We hire him for bargaining units that have interest arbitration.